Future-proof knowledge podcast, mind unlocked. With every episode we cast, real talk, real tools, wisdom on the fly. Tune in, geek out, reach for the sky. FPK, Future-proof knowledge podcast.
Future-proof knowledge podcast, episode 7. We are live. We're not only live on YouTube, we are also live on the FPK website. So I'm going to head over to futureproofknowledge.org and check out the site there for watching us as well. It's always good to help us out. We hope everybody's been keeping well, and yeah, it's just the three of us today. Our numbers are shrinking week on week until maybe this is a sign, guys. Maybe this is just the world telling us that we should just have Olive on here on her own, talking about all her wonderful stuff, and the rest of us should take a hike. But today, listeners and viewers, we are going to be talking about AI and the future and jobs. Dun, dun, dun. Because we are all petrified. Everybody across the globe is petrified that there's going to be no jobs left and we're not going to be able to earn any money and we're all going to starve to death and AI is just going to make the world a better place. So thanks for joining us this week. That's the end of today's podcast. No more discussion. AI is going to kill us all. No, I joke. We are going to delve into where we see the career paths moving and opportunities, but also the challenges that could be faced by people in traditional careers. So we'll dive into that in a second. But Olive, how have you been this week?
How have I been this week? I've been good, thank you. I've been having a bit of a clear up around the office. That's always good for me. I hosted last week a response to the latest IDA definition of dyslexia. And
what's the IDA, Olive? Tell me.
It's the International Dyslexia Association.
Brilliant.
And they came out with a new definition, which had been collected by the good and the great, all working together, which is totally fine. And I looked at it and went, yes, okay, it's shifting a bit, but I think it needs to shift a little bit more. So I put in some responses to the IDA because they asked for comments by this evening, UK time. Actually, it's probably American time, come to think of it. And so I did that. But you always wonder with these things as to whether they actually goes anywhere from people like me who've got 25 years of practitioner experience working with students. And whereas a lot of the other people that are contributing are academics and do large-scale researches and stuff like that. So who knows whether it has any effect? But that was my major task of this week.
Well done. And I think even if it's not given any airtime by those people in high places, I still think it's important that we do contribute and that we do make our voice heard, even if it's not listened to, because we never know when that's going to actually happen and when someone might turn around and go, yeah, do you know what? Actually, you've got something important here and we're going to bring you into the fold and into the conversation. And I look forward to the day that, we're watching you and Jamie Oliver on Channel 4 together and he's going, Olive, you're the woman to change all this. So, yeah. Jay Sean, how has your week been?
My week has been very busy.
What have you been up to?
Help just try to finish up our platform, do some more updates and upgrades, and playing a lot with AI, who I don't think is ready to take my job just quite yet.
Well, we'll find out how ready AI is to take your job.
We will find out.
So I suppose, before we kind of delve into things or into the real kind of nitty gritty, like when anyone talks about AI, a lot of the media, a lot of the social media, a lot of the conversation, the discourse around it is quite negative. People will talk about obviously the damaging impact on the planet that it has. People will talk about how it is going to be like Terminator and they are going to, destroy human beings. And then people who are a bit more kind of coming back into the realistic realm, they'll talk about, yeah, but all those jobs that we have spent a huge amount of money, a huge amount of time building up as real careers are going to go. And then on the flip side, we have those evangelists who will talk about, well, if we can make things more efficient, quicker, and take away the mundanity, if that's even the word, of those boring jobs that AI will be able to replace. And yes, there's I haven't come across anybody who is an evangelist of AI turn around and say, yeah, we don't have to worry about the environmental impact. I think everybody's very much aware of that, and we do need to be mindful of it and look at ways that can be counteracted. But I suppose, Jason, I'll come to you first, if that's okay. Like, you are someone who has a career working with AI. You are the linchpin for FPK University when it comes to developing out the technological stack. Like, when you looked at AI initially, did you see it as an opportunity, or did you see it as something that could be detrimental to you and the different potential career paths you could choose to go?
For me personally, when I first learned about AI and first started dabbling in AI, it was fun. I looked at it as, oh, this is a game. It's just something to interact with. I can ask questions. I can ask stupid questions and I can get funny answers. I can ask serious questions and get serious answers. But I learned very quickly that you can't rely on the answers you get. So I never had that initial concern that, oh my gosh, this is something that's going to take my job or take people's jobs and it's going to take over the world. Um, it wasn't until I got about a year into AI that I realized its potential to disrupt the workplace. But I still, at this stage, after being involved in AI now for a little over 3 years, do not see AI being able to take over jobs in a massive way. Um, when you're the type of jobs I think people are concerned about are going to be data jobs, where we're looking at data and examining data and researching and looking for patterns within the data or trying to extract data. That's something where AI has the potential to disrupt the workplace, but AI is not advanced enough now, in my opinion, to actually replace a human. There's too many things such as ethics and biases, and the fact that it's humans that are programming these. If we look at a case scenario like Grok with Elon Musk, it took a human reprogramming it for it to come out and talk like a Nazi. So I mean, it's human input that makes the AI react a certain way. So if you're going to trust AI 100%, you're going to find yourself in a big hole. So I don't foresee AI fully taking over even the most mundane jobs like data, because you still need that human eye, human intuition to look, verify, make sure there's no biases in it, make sure the information is actually correct, make sure that AI is not hallucinating, which is something that AI often does. So no, I don't have those concerns. I don't think it's going to ever be that way. I do see AI being a great tool in the workplace, but I don't see it replacing a mass number of jobs. In your typical office of, let's say, 50 people that are working in, like, let's say, finance, I can see it replacing maybe 5 people's jobs out of those 50. but those 5 people should still have jobs verifying what the AI is putting out. So
Okay.
if employers look at it that way, that is a tool for people rather than a tool to replace people, then I think we'll all be okay in the future.
And I do think that we have to be mindful of, I suppose, sensationalism in the media, which is always going to happen. So, we'll all see the headlines of, whoever it was, whether it was Microsoft or Apple or who, I can't remember who it was. One of the CEOs came out and said, like, they're reducing their workforce by 5% or 10%, which for companies of that size is thousands, tens of thousands of people, and they're being replaced by AI. But I think you're right. Like, if we were to go fully reliant on AI, we're not going to end up. The companies are not going to end up being fully successful. In fact, it's probably going to go the other way if you just let it run loose, because it's built to give an answer. Like, I have yet to come across my engaging with AI where it went, sorry, Alan, I can't answer this question for you. Until, like, the only time I've seen it is where I've gone, no, this isn't correct, and it'll go, oh yes, you're right. I got that wrong, and it'll tell me something else, and then I go, no, that's still not right. Oh yeah, you're right, Alan, correct. And it's still not. Here's another answer, and it still isn't right. So I think that is going to be really important when it comes to us teaching people, teaching young people especially. Well, not even just young people, but older generations as well, that it's so important to verify and fact check AI and what you're being told. And Olive, I know you use AI a lot to help you manage the parts of your brain that don't work as effectively as maybe you would like them to work. So talk to us about your experience of engaging with AI, how it's helped you, and maybe some ways, if at all, how it's hindered you.
Yeah, I've I may have said some of this last week, but I'm going to repeat it anyway. I was really poor at literacy when I was at school, and I have even have a head teacher's report when I was 16 that said it would be useful if I could learn to spell. Now, so I have been focusing for 12 years for how to spell and read. I didn't have time to worry about sentence construction, putting across your point, anything else you might teach somebody in an English class, because I was just on level 1, as it were. I would be asleep if I tried reading, and within a couple of pages, and I only ever read stuff I had to for school. I never read novels or anything like that as a kid. And so one of the things I find really useful about AI, well, the first thing I met was Grammarly, and something that can actually correct my sentence construction, deal with a few spell checks along the way, fix the punctuation, etc., etc. I found absolutely invaluable when I took up using it years ago. And as far as I'm concerned, I just check what it suggests, and I either accept it or I dismiss it one way or the other, and then I move on. And so I find it a much better spelling technique than some of the others around the place. So that was the first thing that came across me. And then I went on to ChatGPT and went, okay, I've just produced this paragraph or whatever it is, or 3 paragraphs. If I put it into ChatGPT and just said, please clarify, it would actually whittle it down into a really distinct messages. So people who are reading my stuff get much more distinct messages if I'm using ChatGPT than if I'm not, which must be a good idea all round. I can't see the negative, and I'm going to pass on the environmental stuff about AI, but that's, as far as I'm concerned, that's really useful. And similarly, when you want to produce a presentation of using something like Gamma, which can produce a much nicer looking presentation. And okay, it's got AI generated pictures everywhere, but at the same time, you know, I can put into it something quite short. And the other thing is, it's starting to learn about me. So what I'm finding is, as I do more presentations using it, it's getting better and better at it. But again, I check everything that's there. I mean, but I did have one instance with ChatGPT where I thought, I'll give it something controversial that I don't agree with. And so I just put in there something like dyslexia doesn't exist or something, and saw what it came out with. And it was really angry with me. It's like, no, you've got this wrong. And came out with all these and of course, that in the real world, that's totally true. I mean, I work with people with poor literacy. I hate them being called dyslexic because that sounds as if there's something wrong with them. Whereas actually, I fundamentally believe that if we taught visual learners to spell and read visually, they wouldn't have a problem. And so, but it didn't surprise me that ChatGPT came out with, no, you can't possibly do that. And so I think there's pros and cons, and I would always say, do check what you get. And don't, if you're trying to do something creative and world changing, it's not going to back you up. It's going to complain, because all it's doing is regurgitating stuff that's already been out there in the world that it can get hold of. And so therefore, it's pointless asking it to deal with that. But if you're more not confrontational with it, if you're kinder to it, it will actually do a really good job on your work rather than chewing up other people's work that you may not agree with.
Yeah, and I think you highlight something really important, that like we've talked a lot about, you know, 21st century skills over the years, and it's definitely one of your big things. Yeah. And creativity is very high up, if not at the top of that list. And going back to the research by George Land and remind me who's the second person, Beth Yarman, when they were asked by NASA to create or to find creative geniuses, and they found that 98% of 4-year-olds would classify as creative geniuses, but only 2% of adults would carry that into adulthood. And they put the blame squarely at the feet of the education system. Now, I'm not bringing this up to bash the education system, but the reason I'm bringing it up is that ingenuity and creativity are inbuilt skills that people have. Now, those skills need to be honed and they need to be practiced to become, you know, revolutionary designers and thinkers and creators. But that can't be replaced by AI. But how can it be encouraged, Olive, do you think, by AI? And please link it back to the 21st century skills.
Let me tell you, I mean, over 25 years, I've spent many hours with thousands of hours with students who are struggling with either dyslexia or ADHD or dyscalculia or autism. Mainly, not so much of the autistic, but an awful lot of the ADHD and dyslexics. And I start every session with somebody by asking them what they're good at. And I always get the feedback from parents like, why are you talking about what they're good at? They've come to see you because of what they can't do. And I go, yes, but we will get there. Don't worry. There is 2 really good reasons for doing what they're good at. One is it cheers them up. And secondly, it starts them to think about what they can actually do and how else they can use it. So over the years, I collected a list of what they were good at. And so I called these the 21st century diverse thinking skills. And almost all of them have rely on exceptional visual thinking. So I've actually shifted from working with neurodivergent students to now working with visual thinkers, because that's the population I see. The only people that aren't visual thinkers is ones who started off as visual thinkers and then lost it because of going back to the George Land thing. So when they get to be adults, they may well have lost their skills. And so I collected this list of skills, and there's about 40 of them on the list. I won't go through all of them. There's creativity, curiosity, critical thinking, problem solving, visualizing, spatial awareness. Almost all of them are based on exceptional visual thinking skills. Now, there's other things that might be, for example, an exceptional musician, but I haven't incorporated those. But there's not that many of them. Almost all of them are based on visual thinking skills. And there's two that don't sort of come into the standard list. And one of them is really having a passion for what you want to do in life, which is the sort of Ken Robinson's book on the funding your elements. That's another really important one, but it's not even discussed normally by kids. And the other one is being a system breaker. Now, system breakers just see things differently and they want to improve the system. I'm so sorry to tell you, I'm a really focused system breaker, not to break the current system, but to improve it so it works for everybody rather than just works for some people. So I produce this list, and every time I do a workshop with people or I coach people, I go through this list, and it always means there's 40 on the list. It's not. I mean, I was speaking to a lady today. She's got 35 of them. She knows she has. But when I work with the two recovery colleges, which are funded by the NHS, and I run my sessions for them. So I run one on finding your neurodiverse strengths, and almost everybody who comes on there who it fits into that category would say initially, oh, I've only got 2 or 3. And then when I go through the list with them, they're up in the 30s. So they don't appreciate what their strengths are. And if they don't appreciate their strengths, nobody else is going to. And so that's a big learning for me. And then later, during the year, I stumbled over another piece of work. I'm very good at picking up other people's pieces of research. And one of them was from the World Economic Forum. And they identified 10 skills that were needed by businesses worldwide in 2025. And anybody can look that up online, it's available. And there is a list of these 10 skills, and they've broken down, for example, it categorizes as one skill: creativity, originality, and initiative. All 3 of those are on my list. So it actually probably comes up to about 30 skills. And these are the skills that businesses need in 2025. And they identified them in 2022. So 3 years ago, the World Economic Forum was saying these are the vital skills. And what's happened? There's all these neurodiverse people. That's what they are good at. And so that's what I do. I spend my time always starting with what people are good at. And I would much rather we went back to the definition, which I think was around the time I started this work, when somebody invented the expression a spiky profile. So it's things that you could be really good at some things and really not very good at another thing. And so instead of having a label of ADHD or whatever, it's like, just look at what you're good at and look at what you're not good at and work on both of them. Work to get the ones you're good at even better, and work to get the not so good ones improved by whatever means works best for you.
Yeah, and I wonder if that challenge is as much to do with the with the way we've built out society. So and maybe this feeds into the AI thing. Like,
Yeah.
life nowadays is, we'll say, technically much easier than it used to be, right? So it was much easier. It's much easier than it was when myself and Jay Sean were kids, and much easier than when you were a kid, Olive. In terms of the macro level, like, we're healthier now. We've better health care. We're living longer. We have more access to education. You know, there's not that there's no challenges for, you know, for women, for, you know, like, there's things are improving a lot in that respect. But what happens then, I'm not saying this is wrong, right? I'm not saying these changes are wrong. I'm saying they're really good. But what happens is we lose a bit of friction. And in order for personal growth, physical, mental, emotional growth, we need to experience friction. Friction is essential for growth. It's like, the simplest analogy I always use is going to the gym. So what actually happens when we go to the gym? People go, well, I work out and I get fitter, or I get healthier, or I look better. But what actually happens? Well, you tear muscle fibers in your body. That's what happens. There's friction happening in your body. And what happens is, when you tear those muscle fibers, they grow back bigger and stronger.
Yeah.
If the conditions are correct. And then what do? You go and you tear them again, and then they grow back bigger and stronger. So that's what happens. We need friction. We need to have challenges in order to have growth. It's how we build resilience. It's how we build self-esteem. It's how we build our knowledge base, right? So I'm wondering now, with how efficient AI is becoming and will only get more efficient, what it may do is reduce friction for human beings, which, what we might find is, people with those spiky profiles, which is everybody, because there are people who will be good at
Different
some
spots.
things and they will be not so good at other things. But what may happen is that they will just go, well, I'll just focus on the things that I'm good at, because I feel good. I get a good response. The people around me tell me I'm good at it. And I don't feel like I can cope or manage or improve on the things that I'm not good at. So there's that challenge that's there for all of us as we start to use AI more and more. Now, by the flip side, it's going to offer opportunities, and we'll come to those opportunities in a minute. But Jason, I want, like you mentioned earlier on, about some of the jobs that you don't see AI replacing, certainly in the short term. But what do you think are some of the more human traits that you don't think AI can replicate or can take over?
Oh yeah, that's an excellent question there, Alan. So yeah, going back to things AI can replace versus things AI won't be able to replace, especially with the human element. So like repetitive, predictable tasks, data entry, basic analysis, routine coding, and things of that nature. Yeah, AI can come in there. It's just going to be faster, easier, and cheaper to use AI. Pattern recognition, reading for like doctors and hospitals, reading X-rays, making comparisons, things like that, analyzing contracts. Or attorneys. Imagine how happy attorneys are now today. 10 years ago, they had to pull out a bunch of different books to find case notes and what was won in this court case, so I can use it for this court case. Now they can say, hey, this is the court case I'm working on. AI can examine the entire file of court cases and say, these are the ones that are going to be pertinent to your case. They've just cut down on paying analysis, thousands of dollars for research and all of that for them. Um, but then things that AI won't be able to replace, that's when we start talking about the human element, complex human judgment type things. So ethical decision making. When we're looking at company strategy, when you and I are sitting, okay, what are we going to do for FPK? How are we going to get to the next goal? AI can assist, you and I in that conversation, but AI can't have that conversation for us. When we're looking at emotional intelligence, things like therapy sessions, coaching, teaching. Yeah, you could program an AI to give you, here's a course, here's a structure, straightforward, A through F, do this, that's great. But that personalized instruction can't be replicated with the AI. It still needs that human interaction. It still needs in the class, let's say, the teacher still needs to see the body language and recognize the body language to know when the child's hit a roadblock or is having frustrations or is just nailed something and you see that light bulb just come on and you're like, that's excellent. You now have your chance for positive reinforcement because you're human, you recognize that instantly and you can act on it. AI is not there. Hands-on roles. Looking at the trades world, if people are really concerned about losing their work to AI, learn a trade. You're not going to call a AI, hey, ChatGPT, I need you to come plunge my toilet. It's just not going to happen. You need a human hand to come in there and do it. You need some electrical work. You got a switch that's not working. Your light's not coming on. ChatGPT, can you fix my light switch? It might tell you how to do it, but it's going to need that human to interact and actually get involved with it. And then true creativity and innovation. Like Olive was saying, AI is going to regurgitate what is already out in the world. AI is not going to on its own be innovative. It's not going to create new. It's not going to recreate the wheel. It's just going to tell you that the wheel was created. This is the person who created it. And if you ask it, how can I make it better? It'll give you some ideas. But the innovation that comes from the human mind. We were given something at birth. I'm not a religious person, not really a spiritual person, but I know we were given something at birth that allows our brains to do things that animals or anybody else with a brain can't do the way we do it. So that can't be replaced by AI. There's just certain things that are inherently ours and a computer will never be able to replace. And our mind is one of those things. So when we're looking at creativity, you know, AI's no Picasso. Can it create a Picasso? Absolutely. But if you take an AI created piece of artwork and you put it next to a human piece of artwork, when you have a art critic come and stand in front of it, what is an art critic looking at? They're looking at the brushstrokes. They're looking at the way the colors were used, the shapes. You're not going to get the brushstrokes from AI. So from an art aspect, art appraiser is not going to be able to see the same things in a piece of AI art that they're going to see in a hand painted piece of art. So there's quite a few things. I popped something in the live chat. AI won't replace people, but people who know AI or who know how to use AI will replace those who don't. And I think that's the foundation of AI today.
Yeah, so it's about encouraging our young people to learn about AI, how to interact with AI. And if we think about young people in general, so over all my years of working with children and teenagers, they have much less fear than us grown-ups. They don't fear technology. They don't fear trying new things. They just throw themselves in and give it a go, especially if their friends are doing it. It's like, well, sure, if my friends can do it, then I can do it too. So they'll just do it. And I think if we can encourage them to understand the benefits of AI, how to utilize it as effectively as possible for them and their needs for the path they think they want to go on. This goes back to Olive's passion thing, because a lot of like early 20s clients that I would have had over the years really struggle because they don't know what their passion is. Like they'll go, I just love sitting down and playing on my console. That's what I love doing, because they had no friction. There's been no friction in their life. And then all of a sudden friction comes because parents are going, you just can't just sit around all day, every day playing on your console and have me cooking your food, cleaning your underpants, all that kind of stuff. You have to go and do something. And then they're going, oh, what? But there's all these opportunities that are available to them. So if we start to help them tune into, well, what are the different AIs out there? What can they do to support you? Then, as Jay Sean says in his statement, it's the humans that will replace the humans, not the AI. Now, I personally think that we will get to a stage where the trades will be done by AI robots, but that's not in the next 15, 20 years. Well, it's unlikely that it will be affordable enough for robots. But again, that would make much more sense to have a robot come, and if I've got a leaky roof, send a robot up rather than have to get a human being who has to climb on scaffolding and in the rain try and navigate all that kind of stuff. So I think that time will come, but then again, that there's evolution that comes with that. So people learn as they go, and then there will be the people that will have to oversee the AIs and the robots as they come along. Olive, I want to kind of ask you, like, from a student perspective, following on from what we were just talking about there, like, do you think there is a way that the education system can start to amplify that creativity in a way that will give young people the same level of qualifications as they would currently get if they were good at maths or English or a language or something like that?
I'm not sure I can actually answer that, but I'll tell you what I will try and answer for you, is that these creativity type skills, 21st century skills, they get lost in the current system of education because we don't do a lot of creativity, curiosity, problem solving, etc. It's not, we are more doing, I don't like to use this word, but regurgitating previous information. We're saying, looking at what somebody else has written about it, or as we go up through the system, we look at what papers have been issued about it. And so we are recycling the system. And you look at any academic paper now, and it's absolutely full of references to other people, which is absolutely great, totally fine. But at the same time, it is actually using stuff that's already been out there and regurgitating it in a different way. And that's not meant to be rude, that's meant to be, that's the way the system works. When you get up to sort of PhD level, you are then starting to look for something which is slightly unique that you can offer the system. And you will go off and find who has looked at this before, or do some primary research with a load of documents that you might be ploughing through. And so, but that's a very mechanistic way of getting there. There will be other people who have got these amazing skills of curiosity and creativity and problem solving, who may have not been great in school, not regurgitated other people's information, and quite suddenly come out with the answer, it's 42, back in the day. But actually, they might be right. And I was reading a story about a guy who came out with, I've forgotten what it was, something in the biology field, who went through the very creative path and really funked out the school, and by the time he got to being a PhD or whatever it was, his approach to life was quite different to the standard approach to life. He ended up getting the Nobel Prize, by the way. And so you look at some of the things that people have taken amazing leaps and gone, I think that's the way that we should be doing this. And then you have to go and try and prove it. And then you refine it if it's not right, and then you improve it again, etc. Something like that. And so I'm really, and so getting back to AI now, AI is not going to make those quantum leaps, I don't think. It's going to be the people that are coming through the system of really looking at what's been done before and how I can improve it or use it somewhere else. That's the roles that will be different. So this is going to change education, because if people understand what I've just been attempting to explain, what we want is the people coming down the creativity route who can use AI for what it's really good at, but not attempt to use it for making quantum leaps in what we should be doing and getting them. It's not, AI is not going to get the Nobel Prize, put it that way.
Yet.
Yet.
Well, you're absolutely right. Sorry, Jay Sean, you're muted there. What did you say?
I was going to say, but it may help us get it.
It may
Yeah,
help us get
exactly.
it. Yeah. It's interesting. I'm currently reading a book on chaos theory that was written, I think, in the 1980s, I'm going to suggest. Yeah. And the initial start of the book is very much around the early conversations that were being had around chaos theory, where there's order within chaos, and like the people who were looking at it and seeing there's something here, they were ridiculed, they were shot down, and these were academics, and they were kind of not they were say mathematicians or philosophers or physicians, and then all of a sudden they were getting accused of trying to cross over, and things were very rigid. And when I think about, like, sometimes people will say to me, would you go back and study, Alan? And I'd love to go back and study, but I couldn't go back and study within the rigidity of the structures. Like, I love reading books on chaos theory. I love reading books on consciousness. I love reading books on, psychology and stuff like that. Do not ask me to write a report on it. Do not tell me I have to have it read within this period of time and then I have to move on to the next one. Because what happens then, it just takes all the enjoyment out of it from me. And I've always been that way since I was a little kid. Like, whenever I could spell or count, like, I enjoyed doing mathematics. And then when the teacher started to tell me I had to do this, it just took the joy away from it, because it was like, well, why can't I just learn at my own pace? And I think this comes back to what we've been saying, that if we teach young people to utilize AI now, that can help them bring that joy back if they've lost it. And it can, if they've got a really kind of out there thought process, instead of going and going through the rigors of having to, pay for a PhD and then study it for a PhD, but they may come up with some phenomenal solutions like chaos theory by just using AI to kind of bounce ideas off and go, let's test this idea, let's test this idea, let's test this idea, and constantly go back and forth. And AI will possibly find, or it'll possibly, the human will possibly find with AI, that AI gets to a point where it's like, we can't go any further with this. And that's where the creative side of the human will go, well, yes, we can. Because as you said, Olive, the AI is only working off what has gone before. So if you're introducing something brand new, it may not see it. But so it might help those individuals come up with creative solutions without having to go through the whole PhD process. Now,
but it also, can I just question you there?
Of course.
It could stop you, because AI might be saying to you, oh no, that can't possibly be true. So if you take too much notice of it, I mean, it's like the work I've done on dyslexia is completely different to what the textbooks tell you to do. It's different to what the assessments tell you to do. It's got elements of those in it, but it comes up with a different route. And So if I listen too much to AI, it will say, no, that's impossible. Whereas the route I'm going down, let's prove we can do it this way and we can do it better.
Let me come right back at you, right? Replace the word AI with government and educational institutions with what you just said. So you've spent the last 25 years battling against government, institutional institutions, educational institutions. Why have you not given up?
Oh, because I'm curious and creative and absolutely determined that this happened to me, this shouldn't happen to anybody else.
There you
And
go.
AI's not got that skill.
It doesn't have that skill, and that's why the human.
Yeah.
So basically, AI is just the government. It is just the education institution. It is the friction. But if we truly believe something within ourselves and our souls that, no, I think there is an answer here, because if we look at that across the board, like even talking about chaos theory just now, like the amount of friction, the amount of, dissenting voices going, no, you're wrong. No, this is not correct. No, there is nothing there. You don't look at the research we have for the last 200 years. There is nothing there. And then somebody somewhere goes, oh, there is. There is. And that's the human element, I think.
Yeah.
So you're right to challenge me, and I'm right to challenge you right back, because AI just is whatever the big,
The big
boss
system
is.
is.
Exact
Yeah.
system. That's correct. Jason, you've popped something into the chat there. Tell us what this is.
So what I've popped in for the listeners to have is a 6-month roadmap to stay ahead of AI. Just some tips and tricks and some places you can go to start to learn the craft and start to build the foundation to protect your job, or to possibly keep somebody else from taking your job or from moving up in your own company, with the tools that you'll need to understand AI. Just so you don't get behind and have, if you're like me, 50 years old, you don't have some 16-year-old kid coming in behind you who knows AI and taking your job. So this is your protection. Give it a read, see if there's anything in there you like, and always look to FPK University for any resource that you may need. We've got it for you.
Absolutely brilliant. But I think this conversation is really important, because there is all those worries, and people will be worried, and people will be scared of new technologies until they aren't. And the only way we can arm ourselves. So I've spoken a lot with people who, when they hear that I'm involved in an AI organization, they will be like, yeah, like I'm really worried about my job. So I've spoken to solicitors, I've spoken to accountants, and they'll go, like, our job's going, like the AIs are just going to replace us. And like, I'm really worried that it's going to come very fast, because I keep hearing it's going to come very fast. And I'll always just pose the question, well, what are you doing about it? Like, what are you just having this conversation with lots of other people all the time about how much you're worried about AI or how you hate AI? Like, it's like, the cartoons where, from like back in the day, where the train is going really slowly, and there's like somebody stood and they're stuck and they're going, no, as the train is coming really slowly, and all they had to do is just like step off the tracks and they're fine. And we're going, no. And that's what's happening with AI right now. People are going, no, as if there's nothing they can do about it. Now, I know it's scary, but if we take that veil of fear away, because that's all it is, it's just a veil of fear. Once you start to play around with it, once you start to just explore it, you're not going to necessarily just go ping and a light bulb and go, oh, I love AI. This is the best thing to ever happen to human beings. But you will start to learn how it can support you in your role, whether that's work, outside of work, whatever it might be.
And you can do a better job of it with that support.
Absolutely.
That's the important thing.
Yeah. And you become more indispensable to your organization. So you don't need to be a coder, but you might be the person who introduces AI to your organization.
Mm.
You know, the tools, because you've used them, you've played around with them. And there are tons of resources out there, you know, and sometimes that can be overwhelming as well because there's so many different resources. But actually, Jason, I don't know if you've done it, but maybe we should do it, is to put together a list of some of the different AIs that are out there that we would recommend to people and just put a link to them. And, you know, maybe the AI companies will give us a little thanks very much. But I think that might be important. So because we do use it, and like all of you've mentioned Grammarly, ChatGPT, and Gamma as being three that you use.
Yeah.
I use those a lot as well. So maybe we'll put together a list and we'll attach it to the information for this podcast, and we'll pop it onto FPK University.
I think just simple things that you can use to give you an idea of. I mean, before I used them, I'd never have realised that it could actually. One of the things I love about ChatGPT is firstly, it's positive, and secondly, it seems to have got to know me, and so it's what it's producing now is better than when I started. If I say make this concise, it will actually. It seems to know from previous things I've done how to make it concise. I don't know how to explain that, but it definitely does a better job. And so I'm I'm delighted with it.
Jason, is there any other ones that you could just throw out there in the last couple of minutes that you use and highly recommend?
Man, I play around with all of them. So from ChatGPT, I use that just for general questions and things of that nature. And I have my own personal AI built in the ChatGPT playground. I like to use Claude when I'm so each AI I use for a different reason. And once you start to use them, you'll see which ones suit which needs better. So I use Claude, which is through Anthropic. I also use Gemini, which is through Google. One of the ones I really love to play with is 11 Labs. 11 Labs gives you access to, gosh, I want to say more than 100 different AI models, some that'll do speech to text, text to speech, all kinds of really fun stuff. Then we have Runway, which is another awesome AI platform to use. One of my favorites of all of them is Notebook LM. I use that on a regular basis. I store all of my son's information, anything he gets from school, any emails we get from the school or from his doctors or his therapist. Everything goes into one file in Notebook LM, and I can go in and ask Notebook LM any question about my son, and it has the answer for me. Um, that's just a handful of some of the AIs I use, but there's plenty more like Gamma. Um, you're right, Alan. What we'll do is we'll add a list of the tools and what they're best used for, and we'll put that in our resource center within our platform for all of our guests to go in there and check out. Um, while you guys are talking, it makes me think about 20 years ago in the auto industry. Um, I'm in the United States. Ford is a huge company, and Ford employees were panicking. The
Yeah.
whole production floor was going to completely change. They were eliminating bodies on the production floor, moving from 2,000 people in a plant and reducing it to around 500. And what they were replacing people with were robots.
Robots.
These robots were not AI, they were human programmed, and they're still working on the factory floors today. They've improved production, they've lowered cost of production, and a lot of these production workers were very concerned, and it was in the news for years. Oh, we're going to lose our jobs. This is crap. And oh my gosh, I can't believe they're doing us to this or to us. Um, so there was a roadblock, there was some headaches. But if you look at the auto industry now, they still have the numbers on the floor, but they're not all doing assembly. They're making sure the robots are doing what they need to do. they still have to put material for the robots to grab and put in place. So there's still jobs, even though the whole environment has been changed, people are still working and they've just had to retrain what they initially went into the company to do. So as long as you stay flexible, um, AI will grow with you. And it's going to be like any other technology advancement. Everybody was panicking when computers came out. Oh my gosh, it's going to steal my job. Well, there's not one office assistant or one data analysis in the world today that won't say they're happy we have computers now. Um, your cell phone, same thing. So you just got to accept it. It's going to be scary, but at the end of the day, once we get through the roadblocks, it should be a solid foundation.
Brilliant. Right, we're going to wrap this up, guys. And I think I know like what your answers are going to be, but I'm going to come to you anyway. Olive, what's the one skill you think all young people should be learning to get them future ready?
I'm going to change the title here. Don't lose the skills you were born with.
Oh, you're so cheeky. You're so cheeky.
Because most of these, the ones I talk about, they're all born with. They needed further development, but they were born with them. They were born with creativity. You just look at a 4-year-old playing with a new toy. They know creativity.
That's true. And Jay Sean, thanks for that, Olive. Jay Sean, what's the one skill you think all young people should harness?
I had this answer and Olive just jumped on it. I mean, it really, so we're talking about AI and what AI can do and the possibilities of AI taking jobs and stuff like that. But this isn't really an AI topic. If you go back to the basics of it, creativity. If there's one thing I would tell young people to focus on and to learn and to hone their skill in is creativity. And I'll even be more specific, creative writing. Work on your creativity, keep that you were given with at birth, and focus on creative writing. Because when you're talking about AI, prompt engineering is the #1 skill that you'll need to work with AI, because you're putting in prompts. So you can say, hey, this is what I need, real simply, and it'll give it to you. But if you're creative and you're a creative writer, you're going to get a better output. So keep your creativity, focus that into creative writing, and it'll help you with AI, which in turn will help you secure your own future.
Well done. You two are making it very difficult for me. So
you can't use creativity.
No, I can't. So what I'm going to say is, I think that, right, I'm going to go in a completely different direction, right? I think one thing that young people one skill that is a skill, it's not necessarily inbuilt, that young people can focus on and harness and work on and refine, is empathy. I think so much of the media and social media in the world we live in today tries to polarize us and tries to make us believe that the world is binary. So if one person says one thing, that means that they're totally against the other. And that's just not how life is. So live in the gray, but practice empathy, because none of us know what's going on for anybody else in their life or in the past. And that is one of the skills that separates humans from AI, in my opinion. So, to our wonderful guests, thank you so much. That was a fun conversation, and I hope the listeners and viewers got something out of it. We will be back next week. We do have a guest coming on. I'm not going to tell you who it is, though, because I need to 100% confirm that they can attend. But Olive, Jason, thank you so much for your contribution. And we'll be back next week for episode 8 of the Future Proof Knowledge podcast. Until then, look after yourselves, take care, and go play with some AI. See you then.
Thank you.
Podcast Mind Unlocked. With every episode we cast real talk, real tools, wisdom on the fly. Tune in, geek out, reach for the sky.